Thanks, Amrit. I hope you guys can hear me. Thanks, Shiny, for inviting me. Actually, you created some doubts in my family's mind. When I told them I was going to Goa for a conference, they said nobody goes to Goa for a conference. You go over there to party, you go over there for vacation. And in fact, the maximum questions came from a Gen Z, my daughter who's 17-year-old. And what I'm going to present over here today, guys, I'll be honest over here. This presentation got trashed by my daughter. She said it was too verbose, not woke enough. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the lingo, so I'm hoping over here in the audience, most of you are at least getting to the Gen X or Gen Y somewhere soon, because otherwise I know I'm doomed today also, but I hope I get a better reaction over here. So I think I'll quickly start with, and in case any of you guys are interested in knowing what is Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, baby boomers, the sleeping generation, etc., please meet me during dinner or at the drinks. I can talk a lot about it. So I think I'll start with, and of course, the reason why my company sent me over here, the mandatory plugin. And before I start talking about that, I have 3 loves in my life. Of course, that's excluding my family, my job, the salary, the dog that doesn't exist in my house. That's my love for numbers and number crunching, my love for observing consumers, and the third one is my love for Bollywood. And you'll see a lot of it on display when we go through it. So don't worry, if you're not one of those number crunching varieties, I've tried to simplify it for you guys so that you can enjoy it as I do. So this is what Ipsos is. We are the 3rd largest company, and we like talking in round numbers, so we started in 1975. What is my chairman's age? He's 75 plus. There are 75 plus services that we have. We were hoping to be in 100 markets, but then COVID happened. Then all these crises happened, whether it's the Russia-Ukraine, whether in the Middle East crisis, and we were hoping to be 20,000 employees. So what we've done is we've pivoted ourselves, and we've changed the way we operate. So instead of doing geographical expansion, we're doing acquisitions. So I'll do my second plugin over here. We've recently acquired a mobile-first company called Crownit in India with about a 3.5 million mobile panel that we try and leverage to get you information at the quickest. And in India, we have around 1,500 employees. But let me not bore you with this. Now that I've done with all my advertising, and Shiny had told me to boast, so I was very happy about it. Thank you, Shiny. You guys can go about it during the next 2 days. So I'll start with a simple one first. Okay, how many of you over here are Bollywood fans? Could you raise your hands? Hey, great, perfect. So I'll do a Bollywood pop quiz with you. And if you ask me, the way a Bollywood thing operates is either the movie is a hit or a flop, which works on box office collection. And I'll talk to you about some names, and you have to tell me which of these, according to you, were hits. Okay, so let me start with first Sholay, Diwar. Any of you were born by that time? Were they hits or flops? Sholay was a flop for only a week till they decided that Amitabh Bachchan had to die in that movie, and then it became a hit. Great. So and over here, the way these questions work, the person who gives the maximum number of wrong answers gets a prize. So I'll start with some movie names. Go on. Avengers. Okay. Yeah, I think some people are getting the hint. RRR, Bahubali, Pushpa. Perfect. Pathan. Okay. Indian 2. Great. So you guys have got the hang of it now. So I can move. Now let's try and do it for brands. And can you guess? I will start putting the brands. You have to tell me. Does it go to the right or does it go to the left? Indian market. Sorry, I am talking only about India. I'm trying to focus more on Indian learnings, although there would be some things that where I might be drawing some global learnings over here. Okay? Yep, you're right. It's there still. It's still work in progress, as we keep telling our client. What about this one? Perfect. Great. See, none of you are going to get the prize. I told you very clearly, the person who gets the maximum wrong answers gets the prize. Anyway, let me move ahead. So I think all of you guys sitting over here in the audience know, and this is called the power of hindsight, that you know whether these brands became hit or flop. But all of you over here can actually make the difference in deciding which brand becomes a hit and which brand becomes a flop. So I'll talk about some of the trends that we've observed, and I'll get on to my next slide, which is about some of these. So it starts with, and as a French company, so incidentally, I forgot to mention we are a French company, and we like making predictions. In fact, just to be very clear, we did not do the election polls this year, so those predictions were not ours. So if anything went wrong in those predictions, or if any of you heard something, we were not there doing that. And maybe that's why we say, because we did not do it, that's why so many people went wrong about it. But this is what I'm talking about. Move up your EQ. Now, EQ stands for emotional quotient, but it can also stand for, as a brand, move up your ECOM and QCOM ratio of your total sales. In fact, we were trying to be bold, and I'm saying over here is an opportunity where I'm saying QCOM eats ECOM for breakfast, modern format retail for lunch. But interestingly, while there's a lot of controversy saying Kirana will disappear and QCOM will take over, what we're predicting is that there might be something very, very different happening. That Kirana and QCOM could be sitting together and collaborating to serve the Indian consumer. So the way I would say, and I would just get into a bit more detail. In fact, a couple of years back, if you'd done a consumer research and asked consumers, would you want things in 15 minutes? Would you want these things? A lot of consumers might have said, no, I don't need things in 15 minutes. But when you contextualize it in terms of what those things are, then it becomes very, very important. And I'm just talking about one of the things that I'm sure some of you are already familiar of, that QCOM is now 50% of the online grocery sale on e-commerce. In fact, Zepto founder Adit Palicha has talked about something where he's actually being bold and saying that he would actually overtake DMart, which is one of the success of modern format retail, in 2 to 3 years. And I'll tell you how he's done his calculations. This is where the numbers come in, a bit more detail. He actually says he's growing 2 to 3 times every year. So what he's saying is right now DMart in terms of sales is 4.5 times his size. So that is why if he grows 2.5 to 3 times every year, he'd actually overtake DMart in 2 years in terms of sales. So the question that I have is, will Blinkit and Instamart actually do that similar thing for Reliance Retail also? And that's a question that I want to leave to the audience over here. Going further, this is something that you guys are familiar, so I'm not getting into it. It's already changed behaviors, it's changed shopping habits. In fact, e-com now is moving, where it earlier used to be all about big days, it used to be about deals, value, it's now moving to convenience. In fact, but what is happening is while the evolved customers have moved to a level where they're actually seeking convenience and benefits like the higher order benefits like that, like same day delivery, 1 day delivery, etc. But there's still a lot of customers who are walking in for whom, if there's some of you who are from North who would understand the word called Boni. Boni is the first sale of the day, where that guy, it's supposed to be auspicious. So the first deal, actually that guy gives you a discount. So for this new entrant, the discount is a huge motivator for him to make an entry into that category. In fact, easy returns is also helping build that guy's trust, saying if I go wrong, because he's very tentative at that stage. it actually helps him. But one of the things that we're seeing, and in fact, I wanted to talk more about it, is actually the thing about cash on delivery is actually starting to decline when it comes to digital sort of thing. In fact, I was reading an Amazon AT Kearney report today, which talks about that 90% of the transactions which are happening on e-com sites are now happening through digital commerce. And the other thing to note is the whole thing about private labels. At one point of time, everybody was worried, saying how big it is going to be. But India is a different market. Brands are still very important over here. The way I would say, and this is my second prediction of the day, that actually a Reliance consumer brands could actually be a bigger threat for you than what a Reliance retail might be in terms of being able to squeeze your margins. So I'll move next. And this is what's happening to modern trade. We think this is the one where there is right now a problem. This has been something that's been noticed during pandemic. Even before that, there were some worrying signs. So is Big Bazaar closure a sign of things to come? If you guys happen to visit DMart, and I happened to visit it recently, what I realized was that during the 1st to the 7th, you will see super deals, huge queues at the cash till, but the balance 3 weeks, that entire retail space wears a deserted look. In fact, Reliance Retail is also struggling for sales growth, and Spencer's and Nature's Basket have still not broken even. So that's some worrying signs that are happening. In fact, that's being predicted by a lot of the consulting companies that are working, that are modern retail, and I'll tell you as to why that might be happening. The modern retail are no longer what used to be what was called the treasure hunt or deal seeking, saying, वहाँ पे जाएंगे तो सस्ता मिलेगा, बहुत अच्छा मिलेगा, the whole thing about the scramble to try and pick things or get the best deal. Because now what's happening is there's no joy in that. For reaching a modern retail, you first have to cross a huge amount of traffic to reach that store. The next rung is the parking problem. Even after you've encountered that, the third stage is if there's a queue at the cash till and half the products not being available. So all of these things are becoming challenged. The other thing that used to happen earlier was the whole aspect about when you used to go, it used to be a shopping destination, it used to be an entertainment destination. You used to go with your entire family. But what seems to be changing now is this whole aspect where you're sitting at your home and the convenience of a swipe left, swipe right, which you guys have become so familiar, or just a click of your fingers, is becoming so simple for you that you don't want to go over there and actually stand in the queue or actually brave the weather, the traffic, etc. before you get there. In fact, the movies also, instead of going to a multiplex, and right now you know the number of movies that are flopping. So it's that same mall where that movie is running and the same mall where the store is located that is leading to that modern format, somewhere getting the whole bruised in the bargain. And this is the interesting one. I'm sure a lot of you were not born. That picture over there, that Lalchi Lalaji, used to work at a time when there were things in shortage, when there was something called a black market. It used to happen in movies also. I don't know if any of you were born then when it was movie mein ka ticket black mein liya hai. Now everybody books it online. The houseful signs are also becoming more difficult. But that was when the Lalaji used to be there. He used to control. It was a seller's market. To now where it's evolved, where it's become a consumer's market, a buyer's market sort of thing. So that's where this whole guy has evolved. The Kirana store has evolved to become what I'm calling the WhatsApp guy. You WhatsApp to your neighborhood grocer, and he picks up and delivers right from a masala to a matchstick to you in 5 minutes. Even a quick commerce is not able to deliver it that fast, and even for low-value item without a delivery fee. And the other thing that is there, and I will take you through a bit more detail, what he's doing is he's doubling up as a person to run your errands. He offers you credit when you run out of money. He also gets you as a point of giving you loans. He's actually offering something. He's your top-up friend, briefs you about new products. And there is a word called Lubhavan. I know I'm talking a lot from the Hindi lingo because that's my mother tongue. But Lubhavan is a word that when a kid goes to a shop, what the Lalaji or this Gupta ji does is that mother has sent that kid ki ek detergent ka packet leke aana. He charges you only for the detergent packet. But what he does is he gives this kid 1 lollipop or 1 rupee or 1 candy so that the kid keeps coming to that same shop to purchase it because he gets a lollipop. So that's called Lubhavan. So that's what this Gupta ji has been able to do very efficiently over here. And because he's close to the customer, he's able to respond the fastest even for low-value items, and that is why he will continue to survive and thrive. So what I have over here, and I know I'm running a bit slow in terms of time, are what I would call swings is the way for success for your brands. And this is something about some trends that I'm going to talk about. So the first one is about South Rocks. So these are the booming states of commerce. If you see the list or the number of states, South by far is the longest as compared to North and West. East, unfortunately, doesn't feature. Sorry, meaning it is a fact, I can't change it. When we try and work with our clients, we always realize that East is always more difficult to break in. So in fact, if you see some of the reasons why I'm saying beyond the metros and mini metros, what we're saying is south of Vindhyas is where you have a much higher. And these are some of the movies that worked in the last couple of years. It is not a sign of that people like more violent movies, people like more of these. It's more about why is there a boom? The boom is because of a higher GDP, a higher education, a higher propensity to spend, and more educated women in the South. Which brings me to my next point, which is all about working women in the force. And what is happening is that it's steadily increasing over the years. Now, if you go by the government statistics also, it's indicating that while there was a drop during the pandemic, but post that it's actually, and some of the things that seem to be working are education, economic necessity, changing social norms, and government initiatives, all of which seem to be working well. In fact, just to share a bit more on the Nari Shakti, pandemic actually has been a boon in disguise for the working women. While it initially created that disruption, but that whole work from home phenomena has been appreciated by them because now they have the flexibility of being able to manage home as well as work. In fact, it's working even for the men. A lot of that I'll talk about in my last slide, which is about the men are sitting at home, and while they're working, they're also doing the day trading, they're also doing the options and futures, a lot of which is getting reflected. And with more women working, the affluence of the household will grow. But what it's going to do is also going to translate into the time available to that women will decline. And hence, the shopping behaviors may undergo a change, which is where I'm saying that whole effort of going out and shopping might reduce to doing it on your phone or on your device. So if you see as to what is happening, one of the things that we're saying is that women might be the more lucrative target segment. And some of the brands that we work with where we've seen a lot of success, that brands focused on women are doing better, whether it's Mama Earth, whether it's L'Oreal, Zudio, which has become the new fashion thing for value-conscious customers. These are some of the names over there. I'll move further to this one. I'm sure everybody over here in this audience is familiar. Internet. India might have 1 billion internet users by 2025. India is one of those unique markets where we had a 0.8% telephone density at the early 2000s. That is 8 phones per 1,000 individuals. And right now, it is 600 or 700 phones per 1,000. So India's one market which evolved straight from no phone to mobile phone. And a lot of people have not ever used the landlines. A lot of people do not, if you ask the kids of today what is a PCO, a public call office, they may not even be familiar with it. And one of the things that's interesting is that while the usage is high right now for entertainment and social, but social commerce is actually picking up quite a bit. It's only about the enablement of that, which is going to lead to the growth of that. And when you look at it across both urban and rural India, what you realize is that they're actually spending a lot of time. They're actually spending about 90 to 100 minutes per day on their mobile phone, both across urban and rural. And the other one which I'm talking about is the whole thing about influencers. I know I'm just setting up the preamble for what's going to follow up in the next couple of days from the other speakers. I've looked at those sessions. They sound quite interesting. But one of the things that I'm saying is this guy, Mr. Bunsha, actually did last year when Magic Masala, which is the largest selling flavor, actually changed its flavoring to make it slightly sweet. This guy trashed it on social media and immediately got 7 million views in less than a week. What did he do? He actually said from Magic Masala to Tragic Masala, he actually used a word which meant a Jevuna shark, which means some Gujarati vegetables. Sorry, I'm not good at Gujarati. Please don't quote me outside. My wife is Guju. She'll kill me for that. But I'm saying what he did and what was the response from competition. Bingo had a spicy masala. So they offered to send him a truck of spicy masala immediately. And they asked him for an address. So while he didn't respond, and which is why we don't know whether it was staged or how it was managed, but they next sent him a picture of an empty truck saying, since you didn't send your address, our employees ate up all the chips, and here's the empty truck for you. Then Lay's got it into the act, and actually Lay's took him to the factory and said it was only a limited edition, and don't worry, your magic masala is back. And then they got him to endorse it. So this is how the influencers are working. A lot of our clients are actually using influencers, those whole YouTube videos about how to do it, how to do your beauty sessions, etc. There's a lot of it is all about it. And the next trend is all about nostalgia. So these are the two movies, as I said, my love for Bollywood. These are the two movies of this year, which are the biggest grosses. I don't know if any of you watched it. I didn't like them too much. I'm still a Kabhi Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum sort of fan, all the Kejo movies. But over here, these did extremely well. And all of these are based on the stories that your Nani Dadis have told you over the years. One is about Sarkate Ka Atank, which is a story from Kumaon. If you go and search on it, the Munjia, which is another sleeper hit of the year, is actually based on a Maharashtrian folklore about a ghost. The Kalki is nothing but Avengers meets Mahabharata. That's how I define it. But I'm sure each of you would have their own definition about it. And this is what we're saying, that people are liking to hear about stories that they've heard in the past. They're getting it in a modern format, in a more entertaining format with all the special effect. And it seems to be working for them. Now, this is what clients have started to do on food, where you know that the minute you have food has extra sensorials, multi-sensorial cues. So one of the things is the international format meets Indian flavors. This is what's been done by Starbucks. And I'm talking about the top end. In Calcutta, for example, they've launched a tiramisu chom chom and a chocolate rasgulla mousse. And I don't know whether you know, but India is one of the markets for Starbucks where they clearly talk about food along with coffee is much bigger than anywhere across the globe, which is why they've been launching a lot more food variations. I happened to talk to some of the people over there, and one of the things that they said was, in terms of coffees, they cannot do that much changes because of the global dictates, but when it comes to food, they can play around with much more, and which is why they're being able to bring in Indian flavors. In fact, McDonald's has also been doing something similar. And let me just, how many of you have heard this word called NONG? Do you know what it stands for? Anybody over here? If anybody gets the answer, I might be able to give a prize. It's not that difficult. Perfect. Because that's what they've done. The no onion, no garlic during the time of Shravan. They've gone and if you actually look at the app, you will see the NONG, not no onion, no garlic, because it's too long to come on your mobile screen. So they're using that word. In fact, they have the whole Jan menu and things like that. And I'll do one more quick quiz. What is Lord Ganesha's favorite dessert? Now, I'm sure that everybody knows over here. But the second question is, what is more interesting? What was its price in Mumbai last weekend? Any guesses? Yeah, that was the first part. The second part. No, I'll come and show you as to what Swiggy did last week. They offered it for 0. They actually set up a Insta Modak stall where there were queues outside to pick up that Modak. And now I saw somebody on LinkedIn and some of the other platforms talking about how Modak is healthy. But I'm not going to talk about the health and wellness part of it over here because that's a different trend. It will take me far too long to talk about it. But I'll quickly get into this about nostalgia and personal care, where Mama's launched a Kerala Thali range. The whole thing about the Bal Mein Champi, the Bal Mein Tel, which is being leveraged because that's a nostalgic thing. The whole thing about Kajal, which has been there across generations. It's been there for multi-centuries. You've seen your grandmom apply it. You've seen your mom apply it. All of these are working extremely well. That Kumkumadi Thailam for fairness is being leveraged by premium brands. It's being leveraged by Fair & Lovely. Sorry, it's no longer Fair and Lovely. I know it's called something else now. But I'm saying, even my client the other day that I heard, there is something called the whole nostalgia about going to the chakki and getting the atta pisod, hearing the sound of chakki. Now, one of the things that they said was, पैसा कमाना मुश्किल है, but आटा गूंदना उससे भी ज़्यादा मुश्किल है. So what they've done is something called a slow grind on it, which is what evokes that nostalgia about chakki wale aate ki feeling. Is something that Fortune is trying to build in for their brand, which is evoking a lot of trials for the brand. And this is the whole thing. I'm sure I don't need to talk about it. This whole thing about government, which is all about Aadhaar, the jam trinity, which I'm sure, Jandhan, Aadhaar, mobile, the whole thing of GST, the UPI, and I'll just talk about UPI a bit, digital commerce, while cash is still king in the general trade. But UPI is going to be the new prince, and this is my third prediction of the day, that UPI and digital commerce is going to grow. So what we're saying is it could actually change the way people look at it. Earlier, you used to operate in price points of 5 rupee, 10 rupee. But what happens when inflation happens? Do I take up my price from 5 rupee to 5 rupee 50 paisa? The grocer is going to say, sorry, you're not welcome, because that guy is not going to give me either the money back of 4 rupee 50 paisa. So the customer feels shortchanged, or the other way around. Now with this, when everybody is paying through the mobile phone, that doesn't pinch you. You can type whatever number that you like. And hence, there is an opportunity to actually do revenue maximization, which was actually getting shrunk. So, for example, I don't know if any of you've seen the Parle-G of earlier to Parle-G of now, and the whole aspect of shrinkflation, what the size used to be then. Even at Alpenliebe, I remember, about 20 years back, at 50 paisa, used to be double the size of what it is at 1 rupee today. And those are the sort of things that are happening. So I'll just come to my final 2 or 3 slides, one of which is the whole thing. And this is, I'm saying my prediction number 4, that a new addition to the monthly shopping list is actually going to be the systematic investment plan. In fact, Navneet Manot, who's the president of AMFI, which is the Mutual Fund Association, has actually talked about how he's learned the way to market it from the FMCG guys. And that's how he's built his thing, about mutual fund sahi hai. And what is happening is that the consumer, and I will talk about some specific cases, that say a lot of the male brands, why are they not succeeding? Is because that male guy is actually taking that money and putting it into investments, putting it into stocks. The systematic investment plan is something that's actually taking away from your monthly shopping budget. And that could be the shape of things to come, that he's actually looking at buying a much more premium thing, the whole premiumization trend that's happening. People are wanting to buy more premium things because they want to make big gains. Everybody loves, I would say everybody loves gambling, and the stock market is an easy way to gamble with a systematic investment plan. And this is where I'm saying it is right now eating away from your discretionary spend and big ticket, but very soon it could actually be getting into your monthly shopping basket. And that's where it will start to hurt us. So we have to figure out how to manage that. And yeah, this is the last one, which is all about sustainability. We've done a sustainability segmentation. And this is where people are currently. There are only 23% or 1/4 of them who are actually activists, who are willing to pay more, who are willing to buy locally sourced products, plant-based vegan options, zero waste. A lot of them are actually sitting in the middle, which are the bystanders, who are, agar milega free mein, to sustainable bhi le lenge, but I'm not going to pay extra for it. And there's the whole segment, which is, and these are, as I would say, the more older segments like me, the disengaged bystander who, like Mr. Trump, who believes global warming kahan ho rahi hai, floods kahan aa rahe hain, sort of thing. So that's where it is. But I'm saying one of the things that's going to change over here is the Gen Z. The Gen Z is very different from what you're seeing over here. 10 years from now, when the Gen Z starts earning, when the Gen Z starts making purchases, for them, because they've gone to schools where they've been told whole thing about recycle, reuse, sustainability as part of the school curriculum, they believe that brands that do sustainability, brands that do good are actually good and willing to pay a premium for. So that is where it stands now. So I think that's it. I'll stop now. Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Any questions for Mr. Gupta? he's around, please feel free to catch him during the party or during the drink break. Thank you.
Thanks, Shiny. Thanks, Amrit.